Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to impart techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Enterprise Mobility, How Secure, How to Secure. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Kinjan Shah, Senior Solutions Architect at InfoStretch Corporation. Kinjan is an innovator and entrepreneur with over 17 years of technical and leadership experience in software development industry. A solution architect focused to deliver robust enterprise mobile applications and platforms, he has created frameworks that allow seamless implementation of various mobile and enterprise applications. He is passionate about technology that drives him to adopt emerging technology trends, develop new concepts and frameworks. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Kinjan.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, friends in India, and good morning to my friends in western part of the world. So today's topic is
Kinjan, you're on mute, I guess. Can you please check?
yeah. Is it good now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
Is it good now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, friends, today's topic is about mobile application security, and today our situation with the mobile application is something like this. It's all the life is full of uncertainty in the mobility world, and would like to focus on this area, and would like to talk about how exactly we what are the facts and trends in the market, enterprise mobility, ecosystem, legal compliances that are now hitting the mobile industry, mobile threat modeling. OWASP and Veracode are working on the risk areas, identifying those risk areas. So we'll touch base that. There are various threat modeling analysis and processes available. So we would like to touch base those areas. Some of the security considerations that are now being taken care by, and of course the conclusion for developers and testers, and we'll then open our session for Q&A. So moving on to facts. So the facts we have picked up from the latest Checkpoint survey. Checkpoint is a company, they have done a survey in June 2013, and the first fact that they have focused is on the number of devices connecting to the corporate world, and as much as 93% of the devices are connecting to the corporate world. That means mobile device penetration in the enterprise and corporate world is now is becoming big. So it's whether it's company-owned devices or personal devices, and there are now a situation where people use two devices to connect to the networks. So this is the major. Another area is when they discussed with IT managers, security managers, and according to them, 63% of the companies are not actually managing any device, business-owned information on these devices. So that's a huge, and it's a security breach. So that's another area that is like completely open. According to the kind of data that is stored, Business applications, corporate information via business applications are 49%. Of course, there are other information which are equally important, like customer data, business contact data, corporate emails, confidential notes, credentials, but 49% is on business applications, and that is our focus today. How to secure our business applications, at least to make sure that all information, enterprise informations, are secure. So that's the focus right now. Of course, as we all know, Android is the most risk security risk area because of the open source and all known facts. But iOS is 25%. Of course, Windows Mobile is because of the Windows 8, now it is 17%, and BlackBerry is 9% because of the market penetration also. And of course, the BES security and security policies are really good on BlackBerry. Another good fact, careless employees are 66%. So company-owned devices lost or stolen, or they don't care about the data, company data on the devices are high. So if we sum up all this information, we have 93% companies have mobile devices connecting to their network. We have 49% corporate informations are stored on mobile devices via business applications. 63% companies do not manage company information on mobile devices. 66% says careless employees are greater risk than the cyber criminals, and 49% cite Android as a platform, followed by iOS, WM, Windows Mobile, and DB. So we would like to again reiterate the same trends. Mobile applications have become significant business channel, number one. Number two, coverage of personal and business devices are convergence is increasing, and rapid increasing device and operating systems. We are only focusing on 4 operating systems now, but in couple of years we'll have another 4 to 5 operating systems on mobile devices, and then it's gonna be really a huge security issue, and everything has to be managed by enterprises well. So moving on to the ecosystem, let's understand the ecosystem well, about how the mobile applications are actually developed. So because of HTML5, now enterprises always want these 3 kind of applications, web applications, native applications, and hybrid applications. And penetration of hybrid applications are now, of course it's on a question, but it's still increasing. So and web applications are always a better and easy way of extending the existing enterprise infrastructure. So that's also penetrating. So our focus today on the security area will be both web and native and hybrid applications. There are 2 use cases in the enterprise world are very common. Enterprise to consumer applications, so that's C2E, which is one area. All consumer applications, all e-business applications, like banks are extending their applications, hotel chains and whatnot. And of course enterprise applications, or a SaaS vendor like Salesforce are now extending all their applications to the enterprise world. So these are the 2 again major area that we would like to focus on, 2 major use cases that we would like to focus on, business to consumer, and of course business to employees. Let's understand the typical ecosystem of B2C and social network data flow. We can see here, as a user, you are sharing your account application information, and you are also sharing your hardware information like GPS locations and all with some provider who's then sending you the coupons back. At the same time, you are also sharing your profile with other people, right? And you are sharing your profiles with the world, and that's where you are sharing your data. You are sharing your credentials over the air. You are sharing your hardware access information. You are sharing your personal information, and these are kind of the threat areas, major threat areas in the mobile application world. And whenever you develop the mobile application, these are the areas we definitely need to take care of, and we'll talk about that on a in the later in the session. Legal and compliance. So far, all mobile applications, there was no issues with the legal or compliance areas, but now with PCI and HIPAA, they have come up with the standards, and they have suggested the guideline that whenever you develop the mobile application has to be followed. And so basically those security guidelines are, the first objective of PCI. PCI is basically, payment card industry. So the first thing they are talking about is prevent account data being intercepted when entered into the mobile application. Basically, this is, untrusted input threat. They are directly talking about, untrusted input threat. Whenever you are entering your, information, card information, there might be some third-party application sitting on your device, listening to the keyboard inputs, and that's a major threat that they see. Second objective, prevent account data from companies while processed or stored within the mobile device. It's an offline storage and a business logic level threat that is on the that is happening on the mobile device applications. So offline storage is always a question on in this mobile world, and that's another area that we are focusing on. The third parties, prevent your account data from the interception when it is being transferred to the server. So it's data on fly is transport layer security is what they are addressing. So apart from this, PCI has given a guideline of about 15 or 16 different security concerns that needs to be taken care of when you develop the mobile applications. Probably you'll get those information on PCI site, and they have released these back in May 2012. But PCI is suggesting that they will not certify the mobile applications at this point. So that's another part that they have mentioned. So it's still emerging, but we should take care of these compliances when we develop at least the banking applications or the card processing or merchant applications. Moving into HIPAA compliance. HIPAA is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This is basically act in the USA, but HIPAA compliance, more or less similar compliance we have in the Europe and other part of the world. So their suggested guideline is, the first thing they are focusing on is authentication and authorization. Your user password or any other user authentication should be secured, kept secured, and taken care of. Encrypt health information on device. The first thing they mention is that you should not store any health information if it is not required. Store those information on the server, but even if you have to store, encrypt them. The third area is adequate security to send or receive. Again, the transport layer security is what they are focusing on. And the fourth thing, which was really interesting, they have also focused on reusability of your devices. So they are saying to delete all stored health data before you actually discarding or reusing this mobile device. So anti-theft policy is something that they are actually focusing on here. So these are kind of two compliances. There are many other compliances, vertical wise. So retail industry and travel industry, they have their own compliances. But as far as security is concerned, these are the major areas that are in the focus right now. So moving on to the mobile threat model. Basically, threat modeling is It's a analysis and modeling, and it's a process to identify and document threats, and uh, find out their most appropriate countermeasures. This is all about threat modeling. It's all about how you identify all the threats and attack points, and find out the countermeasures. So let's understand what it is, what isn't the threat model. It's not the solution to all problems. The problems like insecure coding practices are not covered by threat modeling. Threat modeling is not talking about your insecure coding practices. You have to still be careful when you are coding your applications. It's not an exact science, so there is no one way to threat modeling. Of course, there are various processes, for threat modeling, and we'll talk about one or two processes today. But there is no one way of threat modeling, so we have to be very careful. What it is? It's a repeatable process. Why we mention it's a repeatable process is basically once you have done this analysis, you can use the same analysis for various mobile applications, and this can be part of your development process, or whenever you develop these are the areas you can take care of whenever you develop the mobile application. It's a early risk detection and prevention process. Of course, many a times we come to know that, oh, we do not have many use cases at this point. How do you define this? Well, you can definitely do the brainstorming at this stage. You can keep keep the recordings of your brainstorming and use that at the later stage. Conduct at a design time. Of course, when you are designing, that is the base place. That doesn't mean that you cannot do the threat modeling at the later stage. You can also do the threat modeling if you are in a waterfall. If you follow the waterfall methodology, you can do this at the system testing time. So when you are done with the development, QA team can challenge the development by putting the threat model in place. It's an early threat and countermeasure detection and early risk treatment. Basically, risk treatment and or impact analysis are very much useful to the business people. At least they know that my application has these are the threats, and they have to be careful. Again, it's a simple process, pen and paper activity. In our world, people have forgot to think on paper. They just jump on code, or they use various softwares, but we still believe that thinking on paper is the best exercise, and that's what we normally do. So it's really a good practice to think on paper. It's a way to identify threats. It's a way to identify scenarios. It's a way to identify controls. So it's a way to identify threats that might find ways to access the application or its data. The scenarios that may result in damage or harm application data, and control that may block or detect the scenarios. So basically, if we look at it from the efforts perspective, this is prioritizing your security efforts, and this helps you and lead project leads and project managers to help prioritize their security efforts. And so this is really a good exercise one should do, at least for any applications, and we'll cover that today, wherein we'll talk about what if there is a very small use case you are implementing. How do you do the threat modeling, and if you are actually implementing a roadmap wherein you are implementing various applications for some enterprise, how exactly you can do the threat modeling. So we'll cover both of them. What are the areas of consideration? It's there are two levels we do the considerations. One is the application and architecture level, design and architecture level, wherein you have data transmission medium is the first area. Data on fly is something that we have to definitely consider. We cannot just get rid of that. Hardware component interception. This is really interesting. now with the mobile world, you are also connecting to the various radio frequency devices, or you connect to NFC, you connect to QR code. So there are many local connectivity, and you have to definitely check and balance the hardware components. Third-party libraries, we cannot live without that, and most cases we have seen that there are there are very much possibilities of security flaws in third-party libraries, or even the application that you interact. Of course, this is not possible in iOS, but this is still possible in Android. So you should take care of that. Mobile data, the data storage, and the process is basically your business logic at the mobile application layer. Of course, business purpose of the data and flow is another thing that you should take care of, and the type of data. Could be your SQLite database, or your so basically offline storage, your file system, including configurations and assets that you store. You should be careful when you store them. So let's look at the pictorial view of this. Basically, we are talking about 4 level here. The first is infrastructure level risk that one must identify, which is your carrier level and network. So we connect to the public Wi-Fi, unsecured Wi-Fi's. We connect through networks. We should be careful when we and consider them in the modeling. Hardware, as we discussed, there are various sensors available, and GPS and all. We should take care of that. Buggy OS is another major area. You never know what sometimes you do not get to know where exactly the problem is, and the problem could be at the OS level. So it is better that we consider them whenever we are actually using the native APIs for developing. And of course, the application level wherein you have a third-party applications that the applications you use, or third-party libraries that you use, or third-party SDKs that you use for developing your use cases. So these are the 4 major areas that we should consider when we do the threat modeling. Before we get into the process, actually, let's also look at the risk areas that are being identified by OWASP. So these are the risk areas OWASP has identified. Most of them are, as you can see, pertaining to data. Again and again, they are all talking about data, right? So insecure data storage. This is offline data storage. Weak server-side controls. Weak server-side controls is, some people do not believe that weak server-side controls is, part of mobile security risk, but OWASP is considering this as part of risk at the mobile, mobile application layer. Insufficient transport layer protection, client-side injection, that's very common. Improper session handling, security decisions, untrusted inputs, as we discussed earlier. Untrusted inputs are really, not on iOS, but definitely if the device is jailbreaked, there also you have a threat. Side channel data leakage, broken cryptography. Of course, this is another threat, but now with the with the kind of algorithms available, probably we can trust that. Poor authentication authorization. This is another area that we'll touch base today. And sensitive information disclosure. Veracode is another security security testing company, and InfoStretch being partnered to Veracode, we have access to their their softwares, their test cases, the way their platform. They have actually divided these risk areas in 2 categories. One category is malicious functionalities, which is purely focusing on the mobile applications, and the other area they are focusing on is vulnerabilities, which is like unsafe sensitive data data storage, or the sensitive data leakage, and those kind of areas. So they have divided. So basically they are also talking about the same kind of security threats, but they do not believe that server side as we covered earlier, weak server side controls is not the mobile security risk, and they are not covering that part in their platform actually. So these are the risk areas that are known, and we have to kind of cover them. Let's actually now talk about how this threat modeling what is the process and how exactly we can achieve this. So I have covered two types. One is a very basic type of process that can be applied for any single application development or any application, mobile application that you develop. It's a very basic way of doing the threat modeling. And there is another one which is like when you are actually implementing a roadmap for or multiple applications for enterprise, or you are actually building a mobile number of mobile applications or mobile gateway for enterprise. We should consider that. So a very basic process. Just focus on 4 areas: resource, threat, vulnerability, and mitigations. So resource, what are you trying to protect? That's the first question you ask yourself in the application. Whenever you are implementing the use case, just ask this question to yourselves. And what you are afraid of happening. These two questions will at least give you the the impact analysis or at least the threat analysis that that can happen to the business and application. How can the threat occur is something you should also focus on. Then once you have these two areas clear, you can focus on how it can happen and what can reduce this risk, and that will give you the probability of how likely is the threat given the control. And this basically, by understanding these 4 pieces of information, you can at least write your code or plan your code in a way that it can secure your application. Again, this is very basic way of doing it. If you are developing a single application, this can definitely help developers and leads. There is another way of threat modeling. This is called PASTA. PASTA is process for attack simulation and threat analysis. Let me give you a little bit background on PASTA. PASTA is basically is not actually defined for the mobile applications, but it is a 7-step process and applicable to the most application development. It's not just for the web applications. You can apply this process to any application development. So that is the best way, and that is the way that is the reason why we want to cover today this. Okay, the business objectives with technical requirements. It aligns your business objectives. There are other threat modeling, like Microsoft also has a threat modeling process. It is not touching the business objectives. It is only focusing on the technical requirements. It also includes compliance requirements and business impact analysis. So this is compliance is, as I said earlier, compliances are now actually imposed upon on the mobile application development also. So we should cover them when we are actually threat modeling the entire application. Dynamic approach to threat management. This is another area that it covers. So these are the 7 steps of PASTA, and it starts with define objective, define technical scope. It also covers this technical scope, application decomposition, threat analysis, weakness analysis, attack modeling, and risk and impact analysis. So after each and every stage, you have some deliverables, and those meaningful deliverables are useful to various stakeholders of the project. So let's take one by one. The stage 1 is define the objectives. Define your business objectives, define the security requirement, define compliance requirements, and perform a preliminary business impact analysis. These are the 4 steps that we do. Of course, to do this, we need business requirement and functional requirement document, security information, basically a security policy information, regulatory compliances that are applied to the particular vertical, security guidelines and standards, and data classification. The outcome, you have clear list of business objectives, you have clear list of application functionalities, you have a list of definitions of the application security, compliance requirement, and business impact report. So moving on to next, define the technical scope. Once we have defined the business scope, we now have to focus on defining the technical scope, which says identify application boundaries, identify application dependencies from the device environment. These are the what all areas we have to identify on the environment, what all device environment we are dependent on. And in mobile world we are dealing with 4 or 5 different platforms, and there we have to be very careful in identifying those areas and risk in those areas. Identify app dependencies from server infrastructure. No enterprise applications can be standalone on the mobile, so we have to identify those areas. And of course, identify dependencies from the third-party libraries. We have to use one or the other mobile application development SDKs apart from the native SDKs. So those are the 4 areas we need to focus on. So basically this will allow us to capture the boundaries of technical environment. Step 3 is application decomposition. Basically here we are identifying the use cases and defining the app entry points and boundaries. So this here we come up with the flow diagrams, trust boundaries. We come up with we identify the users, actors, their roles and permissions. We identify data, server calls, native device access, identify data points, and trust levels. So these are the areas that we focus on. Threat analysis, it gives you the attack scenarios, and the basically you analyze the attack scenarios, analyze the fraud cases. And to analyze the fraud cases, you definitely need a good vertical knowledge and see how exactly what has happened in past for such kind of scenarios. So that gives you a better visibility on how exactly you can implement your own use cases, right? So that's something that you need to do. Of course, you need to analyze your logs, security events, and then correlate all these incidents and fraud with the threat intelligence. So that gives you a clear attack scenarios analysis. Moving on to next is weakness analysis, vulnerability analysis, and these actually map all the vulnerabilities with with the threats that we have identified in our earlier stages. So we it correlates all your vulnerabilities to the application. You can map threat with vulnerabilities, and basically it will give you a clear picture of how exactly a threat can happen, and how exactly it will be mapped with the use cases. So this is another exercise, a very good exercise. I have actually modified a little bit of process to this is the process that we use at InfoStretch for any mobile application. Actual process is not focusing on the mobile applications. We have some of them we have modified because the process is open enough to so that we can modify. So some of them here you see the mobile applications, wherever we have mentioned mobile applications, it's actually modified version of this process that we are using here. The attack modeling, of course, it gives you the attack surfaces. As we have discussed, there are various surfaces, device attack trees. So it can identify the application attack surface, which surface it will this kind of threats can occur. So that's the focus on at stage 6. And risk and impact analysis is something that will be actually qualify and quantify the business impact. It gives you, it will identify, gaps in the security controls, calculate the residual risks, and identify risk mitigation strategy. So output here will be application risk profile. You will know end to end for a particular application, for a particular use cases, what will be the risk profile. You can actually quantify and qualify the risks. You can actually map threat, attacks, vulnerabilities, and business impact, and you have at least a mitigation strategy available at the end of the stage 7, and this will be really helpful to business managers who can determine which business objective have impact on security. So this is for business managers. Architects will understand the implications of threats and attacks, so that they can actually design the entire application that has counter measures and protect the data assets. Developers will be, it will help developers to actually understand which components when they are developed are vulnerable, and how they can be exposed to attack. So this will help developers. Testers can rely on, and they can actually write the abuse cases and create the positive and negative test scenarios for this. So this will be helpful to testers. Project managers, they can manage the security defects. At least they are aware that what are the security, what could go wrong in the application, and how exactly they can prioritize their tasks. CISOs, basically they'll know that they'll be informed about the risk management decisions. As I mentioned earlier, this process is only helpful when enterprises want to develop their application and multiple applications for multiple functionalities. This may not be useful just for one HR application or one consumer application. Some of the considerations. Now these considerations I have put here, keeping in small use cases in mind, just to connect with the developers as well. So let's understand the use case right now. We are trying to develop a patient management web application. That web application is then extended to the mobile application. The actors are patients, the doctors, and we also have considered the insurance companies, and there will be a so insurance companies also can access this platform or this application. The data that we are focusing on are patient data, appointments, and application configurations, and the same data will also be available on mobile applications. So if you look at the injection points, all information that are coming from mobile application or workstation or insurance, they are all the injection points. So again, there is one more injection point, which is your mobile application itself, which is accessing the offline. So if we are only talking about the web world, only this 4 area we'll have to take care, and that can be taken care at the web server. But here is the additional thing that we have to do, which is at the mobile application layer. Let's understand the disclosure points. What all places we disclose our parameters, what all places we can disclose our information. Everything which is coming from server, they are all our disclosure points, and we have to. So if we know injection points, if we know disclosure points, we can actually plan for the encryption points. What all places we need encryption. So at a transport layer we need encryption, at the offline data storage we need encryption, and at the server also we need encryption, and at the in the mobile applications now, if we talk about the SQLite encryption, there are encryption tools available, but you can also encrypt data at the row level. that is also a good practice to encrypt your data. Uh, Technology threats, of course, jailbroken devices allows SQLite database can be accessed, and on Android devices also you can easily access the SQLite databases. Of course, platform level we have various threats. So this is where you can identify, you can just list down your threat points from the technology perspective. You can list down your threats from the injection points, disclosure points, and based on these, for any simple application that you develop, you can actually plan your application security. So basically, you can build a security model or a security library that can take care of all these areas. So cover all bases. Authentication and authorization should be consistent. Why this consistency is important is because most enterprises are selecting both mobile web and mobile applications. They always want mobile web and applications. They want to implement all their use cases on both these platforms, and that's why the single sign-on is really important. So there are 3 suggested ways we can do. Of course, single sign-on on SAML, OpenID, or OAuth. We generally propose OAuth for most of our applications, and REST APIs are now really popular. So that works very well with REST APIs. So these are the 3 ways we should consider depending on the enterprise infrastructure and requirement. So just to give you a quick overview how exactly this single sign-on works. So it's all on a token. You do not need to type your password every time from the device, and all your communications are happening through token. Data at rest. I mean, be careful what you store, and just don't assume that your data will not be available to attacker. They'll capture everything. Encrypt anything and everything stored on device. Of course, this is overkill, but you should still make sure that all important data that you are storing on the mobile application should be secured, including your file system. Avoid storing secret keys in the client code. Yes, this is really important, and be careful when you are actually storing them. Sandbox applications to insulate from malware attack. This is now available, but we have there are quite a few reports that says this is also not very secure, but we have to make sure that we implement that. Verify security leakage at the third-party code or library. Of course, as we mentioned, third-party SDKs or third-party libraries that you implement, first verify. So at InfoStretch we have a practice that any third-party SDK that we actually integrate with the main application, before doing that, our QA team focuses on actually verifying these third-party SDKs and make sure that there are no security leakages there. And once we are confirmed that at least at a basic level there are no leakages, we then integrate that to the actual application development and remove log messages, and when it goes to the production environment. And of course, obfuscate your code, and when you are actually developing the application, restrict the custom permissions, because custom permissions are definitely a major threat. Protect data in flight. Of course, force the communication to be sent over the SSL. That's a basic level of communication that should, whenever we develop the enterprise applications, it is really must that you use SSL. The other thing that we normally propose is encrypted VPN, and transfer all the important data through VPN. and this is really working out well because your data is definitely secured there. Consider industry standard encryption techniques, store encryption keys information in a way that unauthorized person cannot access. So whenever we meet our clients, this is how their mobile applications are developed. In most cases, when we talk to them, the human resource application, they have their own wrapper and they developed their mobile application for human resource department. They have CRM which is developed for another kind of employees. They have their product catalog developed for consumer applications. They have their procurement application or vendor vendor evaluation application or something like that is accessed by their vendors. Now what if in future I want to develop some more applications? The first thing here, the security breach is you are exposing each and every module to a different application. So your one module is talking to one application. So there is no control over the security. Right? There is no single sign-on. How can you implement single sign-on? There are various threats here. And again, cross functionalities. If you want to implement some other applications, that is not possible in this kind of model. So normally we propose the mobile gateway. So all your electronic applications, all your internet applications connecting to the mobile gateway, and so basically like mobile gateway is all APIs are extended gateway, and all mobile applications communicating to these gateways. The benefits are, you can implement them, you can implement the access control for that, you can implement, all kind of securities at this level. Your database or internal applications are not exposed to the outside world. The benefit of is data analytics and user behavior can be implemented here at a single place. All your cost notification engines can be implemented. You can implement the application maintenance and management. And you can actually
Kinjal, can you please check? Your voice is not clear. Your voice is breaking. Can you please check?
Is it good now?
No, it's still not.
Ron?
Can you please try inserting your headset once again?
Can you hear this now?
Your voice is audible, but it's not clear.
It's not clear?
No, it's not.
Now?
No, it's still not.
Is it good now?
There's some sort of disturbance. I guess it's with the audio jack or something. You need to check it. And your voice was also echoing.
Hello?
It's quite clear,
Hello?
no? Yeah, Kinjal. It's quite clear now. You can continue.
This is okay. This is clear, right?
Yeah,
okay.
it's quite clear.
Okay. All right. Sorry guys. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. So back to what I was talking about. We normally suggest these mobile gateways because it is really helpful when we want to implement multiple applications for enterprises and multiple use cases on different applications. So you can integrate data analytics and user behavior there. You can integrate push notification. You can integrate application maintenance and management, app store, role-based access to the applications. So this is the model that we normally propose, and this is a best practice that we should follow in the mobility world, enterprise mobility world. If you look at just the benefit, it has better access control over the mobile applications, no direct access to the mobile enterprise application and data. no direct access to the user information, integrated push notifications engine, user and device management, so you can implement MDM straight away here. Maximum reusability. This cost effectiveness is always something that we face from whenever we talk to enterprises, and this is this is helping here. Better application upgrades, centralized data and user behavior analytics help defines and implement the mobile roadmap. So, the conclusion here, I'm a developer. Why do I care? Of course, because bad boys do care for what you are developing, and you should be careful. So, threat model, your smartphone application. We have discussed on those few things that you should take care and keep that in mind. More complicated architectures, and more opportunities for problems. So it is better that manage your architecture should not be really complicated. Just keep a very simple architecture and try to identify your security and threat areas. Watch what you store on the devices. It may have implications of PCI or HIPAA or any other vertical compliances. Be careful consuming third-party services. As we know, who do you trust? You should know that, right? And be careful when you are deploying the enterprise web services, because they are actually attracting bad boys, and often deployed under the radar. Okay, so few things that testers and QA team can take care of. Break down your security testing into 6 basic concepts: availability, authentication, authorization, confidentiality, integrity, and non-repudiation. These are the 6 areas. Divide your test cases and execute your test cases around these 6 basic concepts. Plan your testing around 3 major security testing types: information and system gathering, logical attacks, and injection attacks. Consider extensive testing of third-party library before you integrate. As I said, we normally keep this in mind and we do it before we even integrate those libraries with our applications that we develop. So be very careful when you do this. Consider hardware and OS level threats, geolocation, SMS invocation, push notifications. In BlackBerry, we have seen Black BBM bugs a lot. So with this, I would like to open for questions. Hello? I don't see any questions so far. Any questions? So okay, can we implement threat model while working with agile process? This is really a big question. Some people believe that threat model cannot be implemented in agile process, but you can at any stage you can implement this definitely. So we believe that whatever process you follow, but threat model can be implemented. The question was asked by Manish. Okay, we have second question. Um, Recommended place to keep the SQLite encryption key in application mobile. Of course, we have to keep it in the application mobile, but the best thing we should do is whenever you uh, uh, obfuscate your code, that is the best option you have. Obfuscate your code, and that will at least help you manage the encryption key. Also, you can manage the encryption key in pieces wherein you do not have the entire key placed in one class. You manage that in 2 or 3 different classes, and from your business logic you access that. Uh, this was a question from Srikant. The third question I have is, which MDM service provider do you think is recommended? No, there are many. So Abhishek has asked this question. So there are many. So but the one I have worked with is Good Price, and they have kind of a very good MDM. So Good Price is one that is recommended. The another okay, I have the same question from Manish again. So another question I have is, what suggestions do you give for secure storage of data on the client side? So as I said earlier, it is always better to of course SQLite is the way to go about it, but secure your SQLite on, and not just with password. Make sure that you encrypt all important information there. Um, how can I secure SQLite database data in Android? What are different ways? This has been asked by Vinay. So Vinay, SQL Cipher is one library available which is free. Of course, the footprint is big, so the size of library is big, but that is the one recommended. And otherwise, you can do the row level encryption. Use the best encryption algorithm possible and store your data. One more question: which MDM tools is good for enterprise mobile applications? Jatin has asked this question. So basically, as I said, Good Price is good. You can use that. Recommended place to keep this SQLite encryption key. I have already answered this question. From mobile gateway, you mean DMZ? From mobile gateway, so Ankur asked me this question. From mobile gateway, I mean actually develop the server side application. Basically, that connects to your mobile application. So it's basically you develop the server side application, expose all your APIs from that application. I just wanted to know how secure is the data being encrypted in Android OS. Kanak Sony has asked this question. Well, it is secured. Of course, if you encrypt the data, it is secured. but how much secure is, depending on the type of encryption that you have used and the way you have encrypted the data. How to ensure data integrity for data in motion? Dhaval Shah has asked this question. Of course, the base thing is behind SSL. If you are actually developing the enterprise application, try to use the encrypted VPN for transferring the data. These are the two best ways you can do it. Out of REST and SOAP, which API is good for mobile applications? So Jatin Patel asked this question. So both of them are good, but normally it is better that you use REST, use JSON as a transmission, because that will definitely the size of data will be reduced drastically, and that will definitely help you your application performance, improving the application performance. How can we prevent from other application in mobile which will work in the background? So there is no one answer to this question. You can definitely secure your application by implementing various listeners, and broadcast listener. If we talk about Android, you can implement the broadcast listener and make sure that your data is not, even within the application, is not being accessed by other applications. How to ensure data integrity? Okay, we have already answered this question. If used, the other question I have here is content provider if used, how to make data secure? Sayali Joshi has asked this question. Now I don't understand what do you mean by content providers, but if you are referring to the third-party APIs, probably all you need to do is make sure that whenever you make the communication, you make the communication between them, between the content provider server and your application behind SSL. That's the best option I see, but it's not really clear how exactly you want to do it. Okay. Another question is, any leading market products you recommend for mobile application management? There are many, right? So there are about 12 providers, and out of them 6 are leading providers. So depending on your requirement, you can select one of them. Again, good price is one, good dynamics is another one. You can try them. Recommended key hiding techniques. Ahmad has asked this question. Recommended key hiding technique is, don't store the entire key. If you are using the custom keys, don't store the entire key at one place. Put them in different classes, or try to write the key which is generated dynamically. That is the best way to do it. Any testing tools that support security mobile platforms? Ramesh has asked. Yes, we are Veracode partners, and Veracode has testing tools that support. Microsoft has some testing tools that supports the security. So Veracode is definitely the one you should explore. They are really good. So I think I have answered. Okay, I have one more. Using auto layout is a better solution or responsive UI design? Well, security has nothing to do with this, whether you are using responsive UI or auto layout. But of course, if you ask from the application development perspective, responsive UI is the way to go right now. and you should explore that more. There's one more question. Most of the MDM providers are offering cloud-based solution on a shared basis. Do you think it is safe and secure? Of course, they are signing the signing the contracts with you, so they are secure, they are safe. Of course, you can keep your enterprise data. There are various ways to keep your enterprise data. You can have private cloud with them, and store your enterprise data over there. So that should be perfectly fine. Jatin Patel has asked this SAML tool, which is rule based, plus SSL is enough to secure your data. Okay, SAML and SQL, SSL, yes, they are enough to secure your data. But if you think they are really very important data, on top of this you can implement the custom encryption, and that should suffice. So you don't need anything more than that. All right, so I think I have covered all the questions. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me on the email address I have mentioned here, and I'll be happy to answer all your queries. So with this, we would like to close this session.
We
Okay, let
still
me take
have
one
one more
more.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have one more question. I just saw that. Okay, is there safe to write Google Map key in manifest file? If no, then what is your suggestion? Google Maps key, you can write this in the manifest, it's okay. And if you are using enterprise version of Google Maps, probably you can still follow the Google Maps best practices, because they already have those best practices in place, and you can definitely look at that. But the suggestion here is, again, keep that key on code, and obfuscate your code. That could be the best way to go about it.
Well, thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation as well. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar. It was a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgig.com by evening. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.